The Manhattan skyline glimmered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Atoria. Crown Tower, the crown jewel of my global hotel empire. At 36, the world knew me as the reclusive founder of Ashford International. My family, however, still saw me only as Nick, the hotel blogger. What they didn't realize was that Whitmore Resorts, their pride and joy, had long ago become just another acquisition buried in my files. Dana Rashford, my chief of operations, entered with a sleek tablet and a measured smile. We've finalized the Riviera Collective buyout. You now control 81% of the luxury eco-resort market across Europe. I skimmed occupancy and retention metrics on the screen before asking, and Whitmore Resorts? Though I already knew the answer, Dana hesitated. Decline. Continues. The Miami flagship is hemorrhaging cash. Guest complaints are up 63%. Their refusal to adopt any tech-forward strategies is crippling them. A quiet sigh escaped me. My mind drifted back to Charleston 4 years earlier. When I'd last spoken to my parents, I had arrived full of ideas. Biometric concierge services, immersive cultural packages, AI-driven hospitality models. They hadn't even looked at my proposal. This family doesn't need futuristic nonsense, Dad had scoffed. You should. Stick to writing, darling, Mom had added with a tight smile. To them, hospitality was about heritage, not code and screens. But their heritage was bleeding out. While my screens had transformed Ashford International into the most profitable private hotel chain across 5 continents. Guest satisfaction scores, I prompted. Dana tapped the air, summoning. A holographic report down another 12%. A secret audit of their Manhattan property failed on every count. Poor training. Broken HVA systems, outdated check-in software. The photos told the rest. Peeling wallpaper, dusty fixtures. Confused staff. My anonymous investment groups now owned 49% of Whitmore's stock. Your mother called again, Dana added. They've invited you to next week's Whitmore Gala. Your cousin Grant is being honored with the Visionary in Hospitality Award. I let out a laugh. Grant, the same man who once claimed QR codes on room keys were too techy, was now their visionary. Accept the invitation, I said, straightening as the city pulsed beneath me. It's time they saw what vision actually looks like in this industry. Confirm every last detail. The charade ends tonight. Everything's secured, Dana replied. The final stock purchase will process mid-ceremony. Legal is ready, press kits are queued. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Please wear something tasteful. It's not one of your little tech meets. I glanced at my custom-tailored tuxedo. Sapphire cufflinks glittering worth more than their entire summer marketing budget. Tell her I'll try to look presentable, I said dryly. The week before, the gala unfolded with precision. Boardroom calls, timed trades, non-disclosure filings, PR embargoes. By the time my driver pulled up to the Whitmore Grand in Midtown, we controlled 49.9% of their company. Mr. Ashford, the front desk clerk, stammered, Your parents request that you use the staff entrance. That won't be necessary, I replied smoothly, stepping into the opulent lobby I would soon gut and redesign. I belong exactly where I am. The ballroom overflowed with hospitality elites. Journalists, investors, many of whom were secretly my clients or employees under other banners. If my family had ever read a quarterly report properly, they would have known. Nick. Grant's voice boomed, arms wide. Here to see the rising star get his award. I accepted a glass of Dom from a passing server. My phone flashed. Stock purchase processing 19 minutes to controlling interest. The game was in motion. Every compliment Grant received was hollow. Laced with irony, most of their so-called partners already answered to Ashford International. Cole, Kay murmured into my discreet earpiece. Status, standing by. Just say the word. I sipped champagne and smiled, spotting my parents basking in praise from people who unknowingly worked for me. Let's give them the legacy moment they've been waiting for, I said quietly. The Whitmore Grand was all forced glamour, tarnished chandeliers, fogged fixtures, floral carpets. Every inch begged for modernization. I already had the blueprints. Nicholas, darling. My mother brushed her lips against my cheek, her eyes narrowing at my bespoke tailoring. How unexpected. I suppose your little projects are going better than we assumed. You could say that, I replied, knowing I could purchase her jewelry collection with a week's worth of my company's coffee budget interest. Ladies and gentlemen, my father's voice boomed from the stage. Welcome to the 40th Annual Whitmore Resorts Excellence Gala. I checked my phone 18 minutes until the transfer finalized, timed to Grant's overhyped speech. Your cousin has done remarkable things, Mom gushed. Did you know he boosted spa bookings just by changing the font on the wellness menu? I suppressed a laugh. I had tripled spa revenue across my chain with AI-driven predictive scheduling and dynamic pricing. Mr. Ashford. Dana's voice crackled in my ear. Contracts finalized. The global ratings team just arrived. Perfect. They were the ultimate arbiters of luxury credibility. Just last week, I had sent them a comprehensive, anonymously submitted report on Whitmore's failures. And now my father declared the moment we've all been waiting for. The Visionary Award goes to Grant Whitmore. Grant strutted to the podium, soaking up applause. I caught my own executives hidden in plain sight, hiding grins behind champagne flutes. Thank you, Grant beamed. You all know innovation is at the heart of Whitmore Resorts, balancing tradition with modern flair. My phone buzzed. Transfer complete. 51% acquired, Dana, I whispered. Execute Protocol Alpha. The ballroom screens flickered. The Whitmore crest dissolved, replaced by live dashboards exposing plummeting guest satisfaction, failed inspections, retention, freefall. What is this? My father barked, rushing forward as Grant froze mid-sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, stepping toward the stage, my voice cutting through the stunned silence. It's time to review urgent realities facing this organization. Nicholas, sit down, my mother hissed. You're humiliating us, am I? I asked evenly. Or am I finally exposing what poor leadership has done to a once respected legacy? The screens shifted again, 40% market share. Lost, complaints tripled. Flagship properties on the verge of losing 5-star certifications. The night was just beginning. If you thought this reveal shook the room, I continued, wait until you hear what comes next. My father's voice thundered. How dare you? Secure it to remove him? I wouldn't, I said coolly, tilting my head toward Dana, who stepped forward and handed sealed folders to industry delegates. As majority shareholder of Whitmore Resorts, I continued, I have every right to be here. Silence fell. My mother's champagne flute slipped and shattered against marble. Grant looked as if he were choking on air. Shareholder. My father croaked. Perhaps you should have reviewed the registry more carefully, I replied. Ashford International has been quietly acquiring Whitmore stock for 9 months. As of 4 minutes ago, we own 51%. Gasps rippled through the crowd. One of the global ratings delegates stood, animated. Ashford International. The group setting. New benchmarks across 4 continents. The very same. I smiled. Though my family prefers to call it my little tech hobby. This is absurd, Grant sputtered. You're just a blogger. Actually, cousin, I said as the screens displayed Ashford International's vast portfolio. I'm the CEO of the largest luxury hospitality consortium in the world. While you were busy resizing fonts and repainting lobbies, I built a global empire. And now, I intend to save Whitmore Resorts from all of you. Chaos erupted. Phones lit up, delegates huddled, ratings officials examined Dana's evidence. My mother collapsed into a velvet chair, mascara trailing. You can't do this. My father's voice cracked. This is our family legacy. It was your legacy, I said, my tone calm but final. Now it's part of mine. And unlike you, I'll do something meaningful with it. A week later, sunlight poured into the corner office of Whitmore HQ Inc., my father's domain. The brass nameplate now read, Nicholas Ashford, CEO. Transition teams were already in place, and the press had gathered for the official announcement. Any word from the family? I asked, not turning from the window. Your mother's called every hour. Your father's legal team tried to block the purchase, no luck. And Grant, Dana smirked, entering with signed approvals, applied for a consulting role in one of our Miami properties. I allowed myself a faint smile as I faced her. He's still trying to access his executive suite. Dana reported, her tone dry. His keycard stopped working at midnight. Speaking of access, I said, has security completed the audit of all Whitmore properties? Done, she confirmed, handing me a sleek tablet. Just as you predicted, outdated encryption, poor surveillance, integration, and she paused, tapping a file. Some questionable financial discrepancies in Grant's expense logs. Scrolling through the entries, I found private jet bookings disguised as marketing spa retreats, all logged under staff development. Every line item confirmed my suspicion. While Grant collected hollow awards for branding clarity, he'd been funneling money into shell accounts. Perfect, I murmured, just in time for the board meeting. Mr. Ashford, my secretary's voice crackled through the intercom. Your parents are here. No appointment, they insist on seeing you. Send them in, I said, straightening my lapels. It's time they saw how a real hotel empire is run. They stormed in my mother in a fading Chanel suit from a decade ago, my father red-faced and raging, Grant stumbling behind, disoriented without his badge. How dare you change the access codes? My father bellowed, slamming both palms on my desk. This is still Whitmore Resorts. Actually, I replied, pressing a button beneath the desk. This is now Ashford International at Whitmore Tower, though soon the name will change. Once the rebrand is finalized, screens lit up, revealing my modernization blueprint. Eco-sustainable towers, biometric check-ins, AI-personalized guest journeys, global HR retraining protocols. You're tearing apart everything we built. My mother whispered, sinking into a leather chair. No, I countered. I'm salvaging what's left. Sliding a report across the desk, I pointed to the numbers. Guest satisfaction down 42%. Occupancy hovering at 58%. 3 properties on 5 years termination list. You weren't building a legacy. You were coasting on our grandfather's reputation. Those reports are confidential, Grant muttered. Not from the majority shareholder, I replied. And definitely not from your expense logs. Grant's face went pale. My mother clutched her pearls. My father's shoulders sagged. The board, he began. They'll see it all, I interrupted, pressing another button. Every screen switched to live footage. Whitmore hotel lobbies worldwide displaying a new banner, welcome to Ashford International. In real time, New York, London, Dubai. Singapore all shifted as the Whitmore crest dissolved into the sleek emblem of Ashford International. A wave of transformation swept across time zones, erasing the past. Impossible, my mother whispered. The cost alone? Do you mean the $2.1 billion I invested in global modernization? I said, tapping the console. A fraction of what Ashford International generates each quarter. The dashboards filled the screen's holdings across 19 countries. Vertical integration models, proprietary AI, revenue streams from wellness, concierge tech, and sustainable infrastructure. Line after line of metrics climbed, each more staggering than the last. While you dismissed my ideas, I said, circling the desk, I built the future of luxury hospitality. Smart rooms that adjust light, scent, and temperature. Systems that cut energy costs by 80% without losing elegance. Staff training so effective it's copied by competitors. These gimmicks, I added calmly, are now worth billions. That board meeting begins in 10 minutes, Dana announced, stepping inside. All directors are present and the 5-star delegation is seated. Excellent, I said, buttoning my suit. Today, we vote to restructure Whitmore Resorts new. Leadership, new standards, new vision. You can't erase us, my father rasped. This company is our life. Was your life, I corrected. Now it's part of something greater. Handing them folders, I explained, these are conditional buyout terms. You may remain minority shareholders under strict conditions. Otherwise, I'll acquire your remaining shares at current valuation. My father clenched his jaw. My mother stared at the floor. Grant turned red, flipping through the pages. This is blackmail, he burst out. This is business, I replied flatly. It's a kind you never took seriously. Now then, shall we discuss your revolutionary menu fonts? The next hour blurred with formal motions, unanimous votes, signed resolutions. By the press conference, Whitmore Resorts was no more. The rebrand ratified. Leadership confirmed. Family resistance broken, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions. My father sat hollow in the shadows. My mother dabbed her eyes. Grant looked like a man watching his empire dissolve through his fingers. Mr. Ashford. One journalist called, "What inspired this takeover of your family's legacy?" I turned to the cameras, glancing briefly at the faces that had doubted me. Let's just say I began with a quiet smile. Sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to reinvent it entirely. That evening, the city glittered beyond. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Dana entered, setting down a stack of clippings. International coverage everywhere, she said. The Times, Forbes, Nikkei Tech, luxury. You've changed the global narrative. Good, I replied. We're just getting started. She hesitated, then held out a cream envelope. Your mother left this at reception. Inside was a handwritten note. We were wrong all these years. So wrong. Please, can we talk? Mom. I read it once, then slipped it into the drawer. Would have to wait, there was still too much to build. Dana, I called, turning back to the renovation plans. Schedule the Global Management Summit for tomorrow and book the presidential suite in Tokyo for next week. Family reconciliation, she asked. I looked up, slightly amused. No, global expansion. If you've followed my story this far, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my place? Migged? Dismissed? Measured by outdated standards? How do you respond? Drop a comment. Share your thoughts. Let's talk about what it takes to lead, to evolve, to reclaim the narrative. And if my story resonates, if you've ever been underestimated by those closest to you, then subscribe. Not just to follow my journey, but to walk beside it. Because this isn't only about revenge or business. It's about finding the courage to build what others claimed was impossible. Here's the truth. Those who silence your potential often lack the imagination to understand it. Don't shrink to fit their version of success. Don't wait for approval that will never come. Trust your instincts. Back yourself. And when the time comes, walk back into the room they told you you didn't. Belong and then own it. Your future doesn't need permission. It needs action. So, what will you do?